Hi there, it's Kevin from GatheringMagic.com here with the wrap-up for Soul Sisters. As you can see here, we won the 6 packs in the 1 Season 4 qualifier for our 3-1 finish here in the Modern Daily. Alright, so here's our deck pulled up, and I promised you I would talk about how we would beat Tron, how it is to side against Tron, and some of the other key matchups in the Modern meta. I feel pretty good about our performance today. The 3-1 finish was great. We played against Boggle, but the Boggle Enchantments deck, the Splinter Twin deck, which is a very good matchup for this deck, Tron, which we did lose to 1-2, and then Jund, which we beat 2-1. And I really like this Soul Sisters deck against those type of decks. The Jund is usually a lot easier than that last matchup. That was kind of a nail biter there, because he did almost come back and beat me with that Batterskull, or at least stabilize until he could get like an Olivia out or something. But usually Jund is just a cakewalk. In my Pro Tour qualifier that I did win, I did play against Jund twice and was able just to steamroll him both times. It wasn't even close. And I have noticed that the times that I have played this deck online, it is a very easy matchup, especially with Ariak champions, because Jund has 0 ways to actually deal with Ariak champion. So anyway, and actually, let me even point out that Ariak champion blocks Batterskull, and Batterskull does not gain them life. That is another awesome thing about Ariak champion. Let me pull up the Ariak champion here. I think I talked about it in my intro, but I'm going to pull it up again and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So it's this guy here. Here's the Ariak champion. It has protection from black and red. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. The Germ token on the Batterskull is black, so you can block it all day long. And they cannot Maelstrom Pulse this guy, they can't Pyroclasm it, they can't Lightning Bolt it, they can't Abrupt Decay it. So I guess the only thing that really can kill it is the Golgari Charm. But if we do have an Honor of the Pure out, then it cannot kill it that way. I have actually won a game against Jund before by having 2 Ariak Champions and 2 Honor of the Pures out and just smacking him for 6 each turn. So anyway, let's go back to that Tron matchup. The key cards against Tron, which are very easy to put in this deck. The first one is Ghost Quarter, and since you are a monocolored deck, it is very easy to splash for Ghost Quarter. It doesn't hurt your mana base too bad, but I hate to see this like on turn 1 when you have let's say a Windbrisk Heights and a Ghost Quarter. It's the worst feeling ever, because you could have played that Plains, played say one of the Soul Warden into the Ajani's Pridemate second turn, and had the God draw, and the Ghost Quarter can slow you down a lot of times. So that's why I didn't include it. But again, if you are worried about Tron, and it's very good against a lot of the decks out right now that don't use any basic lands, it is just kind of like a strip mine. So definitely something you can consider. Definitely something that's really good against Tron. Another great card that a lot of decks do use is Aven Mind Sensor. This guy right here is if a opponent would search a library, that player searches the top 4 cards of the library instead. So you flash this guy in when they activate their Eye of Ujin, or if they activate their Expedition Map or Sylvan Scrying, and yeah, you throw out the Aven Mind Sensor, they can only search the top 4 cards of their libraries instead. So a lot of times it completely messes them up. Only costs 3. A lot of times you can cast it the same turn that they get the Expedition Map online, and just shut them down that way. It is a little bit too slow sometimes for the Sylvan Scrying, but multiple Sylvan Scryings, of course, it can work very well against. And it is a 2-1 Flash Flyer, which is really good in and of itself. I mean, it can get over top of Wormcoil Engine for that last bit of damage when they play it. I think I did play that matchup a little bit wrong. I'm sure that after that first game and I Path Exiled his dude, that he took his Wormcoil Engines out. So that's definitely something that, I'm learning from my mistakes. I probably will take the Path Exiles out and put in, I don't know what I'd put in, some other hate. There isn't really any more hate that I had. And I definitely, I'm kicking myself for this. I had to go scream at myself after the game. I should not have mulliganed that first hand, even though I think in hindsight that probably was the right move to mulligan it. But the double Suppression Field would have just destroyed his draw. It was his first turn Expedition Map that he would not have been able to activate for a few more turns at least, and then I would have been able to slap down the second Suppression Field. That would have stopped him from getting his combo out, his 3 Tron lands out as quick as he did, and then it would have made his Karns not be able to activate the first turn when they came into play as well. And I think that I would still would have had to draw into some good draws. So, I mean, I think the opening hand I had was 2 Martyrs and 2 Suppression Fields. And so I didn't really have a threat, so I didn't want to keep that hand. But now that I think about it, if I would have just drawn into like a Serra's Ascendant or even like an Ajani's Pridemate, I might have been able to get there by the time he cast everything. And who knows? Of course, hindsight is 20/20, and I could have never predicted that was the hand that he had. Anyway, a few other cards that are good against the Tron matchup. Anything, I guess, that allows you to destroy land. I guess that would only be for whites is Ghost Quarter. I guess you could actually go Tectonic Edge as well, but a lot of times they have to have 4 lands out. And a lot of times when they have their 3 combo land out anyway, the Tectonic Edge doesn't really matter too much. There's your Tectonic Edge. They sacrifice Tectonic Edge to destroy target non-basic land. You can activate this only if the opponent controls 4 or more lands. So Ghost Quarter, of course, is a little bit better as you can get out quicker, and you're going to have to sack a land anyway, and they both add for colorless, so it's basically the same thing. Another card that is good against Tron is the Leonin Arbiter, but they do have Pyroclasms to Pyroclasm away, and they only have to pay an extra 2 to search their library. So a lot of times, I mean, it does if you get it out the same turn that they are going to plan on Expedition mapping and using their Sylvan Scrying, that it isn't if they have their Tron combination out, they can still just pay the extra 2, and it's usually not that big of a deal. But it can slow them down, and that could be the difference between you winning or losing. So you have a lot of options versus Tron. You can bring in the Leonin Arbiters, the Aven Mind Centers, the Ghost Quarters, and you can even up your count of Stony Silences to 4, or Suppression Fields even up even more. And there are probably some cards that I'm not thinking of right now that actually affect Tron even more, but that usually is enough. If you're running the Ghost Quarters and the Aven Mind Sensors, it's usually enough to beat the Tron matchup. So anyway, the Boggle deck if you're worried about the Boggles, you actually can put in like Wrath of God, but then again, the Umbras really, really help the deck because a Wrath of God just kills 1 Umbra and their guy survives. But the thing that is really good against it is Tempest of Light, which is this card here. I think it only costs 2, or maybe it costs 3. And if it does cost 3, it is an instant though. So that's what's really good about the Tempest of Light is you can use it as an instant and destroy all enchantments as they're attacking in, and then chump block it and kill it. Or there's this card out of Innistrad, which isn't sorcery speed, but it does kind of work cool with the Soul Sisters because it does gain you life, and so then your Ajani's Pridemates do tick up, is the Paraceline. This destroys all enchantments, but it's sorcery speed. You gain a life for each enchantment destroyed this way. That is definitely a card you could put in your deck if you are worried about that enchantments, the green-white enchantments deck. Splinter Twin, I hope you got to see enough of how this deck interacts with it. They have to deal with, before they can Deceive or Exarch combo, they have to deal with your Soul Warden or Soul's Attendant. And if you're using the Ariok Champion, they really don't have a way to deal with it besides Echoing Truth. And that can be a pain in the butt for Splinter Twin to beat. Another card that just completely shuts down and they have to have an Echoing Truth for is Suppression Field. Suppression Field makes all activated abilities cost 2 or more. This includes Splinter Twin being activated. So definitely a great card. Leyline of Sanctity is always a good choice. There's plenty of decks that it's good against. It would have helped me against Karn. He couldn't have been able to target me with his plus 4 ability to exile a card out of my hand, but he still could exile the Leyline of Sanctity and then the next turn hit me. But it's another card that does give you a little bit of padding versus Tron against at least Karn. So Leyline of Sanctity is great. It's great against like Scapeshift as well, and this deck has a pretty good matchup against Scapeshift to begin with. And it's great versus red deck wins as well. But again, this deck is just very, very good against red deck wins as well. So Leyline, if Scapeshifts is a problem, you could definitely put in Leyline of Sanctity. Other than that, this deck runs pretty well against a lot of the other decks in the meta. It's very good against, like I said, the Jund matchups. It's very good against any creature-based matchup. There are a lot of black-white tokens deck going around lately, and this deck just completely overwhelms them. I mean, black-white tokens is a joke against Soul Sisters because you gain so much life. And same with even green-white aggro. Green-white aggro is just a joke because you're pretty much your Ajani's Pridemate and your Serra's Ascendant start out classing their creatures, even if they get their like their locks and smiters out with the Can't remember the dude that pumps up both white and green creatures, but a lot of times you can just, your Ajani's Pridemate will be so much bigger and they can't get through it. So I really like this deck. I really recommend it. It's extremely cheap. As you saw, I just went 3-1 against in the modern daily, which is, and I barely lost that Tron matchup. It wasn't like it wasn't close. It was very close. A 1-2 loss, and that third game was close. If I wouldn't have mulled that hand, I think I could have got it. But anyway, then I did win the PTQ Salt Lake with this deck as well, and yeah, so I've gone plenty of times. I've gone like 5-2 in the modern premieres. I usually do go 3-1 or 4. I've gone 4-0 before with Soul Sisters in Modern Daily as well. So it is a very, very competitive deck. It is very cheap. If you are looking to get into Modern, this is definitely one of the cheaper decks to get into. And I will, for the next 2 more weeks before Dragon Maze comes out, I will be focusing on Modern again, as people are kind of bored with Standard right now with the anticipation of Dragon Maze kind of switching things up. So I am going to do 2 more Modern videos before we get into Dragon's Maze and start brewing some budget decks with Dragon's Maze. We will continue this series thanks to GatheringMagic.com and Cool Stuff Inc. Go check them out. This is Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching. For more great Magic the Gathering videos, check out my YouTube channel at YouTube/RogueDeckBuilder. See you next week.